Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to step away from the digital world for a minute and step right into the meticulous, dusty, time-honored workshop of a classical oil painter. Today, we are absolutely pulling back the curtain to uncover the hidden mathematical secrets behind history's greatest masterpieces. Let's kick things off with a pretty provocative question. Why do some paintings capture our imagination for centuries, while others, well, they just kind of fade away? We tend to romanticize art. We think of it as pure, raw talent or maybe a magical, spontaneous stroke of the brush in a moment of genius. But the truth, especially from the painter's easel, is much, much more calculated. There is actually a precise, structural secret holding the greatest works of art together. Just look at this stunning piece by Caravaggio. On the left is what you typically see hanging in a museum, right? Organic beauty, rich, moody shadows, intense emotion. But if you look over on the right, boom, the master's veil is lifted. Beneath that beautiful surface of paint lies a deliberate, incredibly complex grid. It's a hidden mathematical matrix that literally dictates every single brushstroke. Which brings us to section 1, the key to great composition, beyond intuition. So what exactly is this hidden system? Well, it's called dynamic symmetry. As you can see defined here, it's an ancient mathematical approach that uses geometric grids. And for the classical painter, let me be clear, this isn't just some abstract theory. It is literally their architectural blueprint. They use this geometry to arrange elements harmoniously, completely dictating the visual rhythm and subconsciously forcing your eye to dance exactly where they want it to go. What's honestly so fascinating to me is the unique mindset of the classical oil painter. Unlike modern photography, where a composition is intuitively snatched up in a split second, a painter has the luxurious gift of time. They methodically stretch the canvas, they prep the gesso, and they draw out these unseen architectures with charcoal long before the first drop of oil paint is ever even mixed. It's a true time-honored ritual of the Renaissance masters. Let's look at how this breaks conventions in Section 2, the illusion of simple rules, breaking out of the box. Okay, you have almost certainly seen this before. Yup, the famous rule of thirds. It divides a canvas up into 9 equal boxes, and as beginners, we're taught to place our subjects right on those intersections. But ask a professional classical painter, and they'll tell you that while it's a cute starting point, relying solely on this tic-tac-toe board makes your compositions incredibly predictable and, frankly, visually boxed in. When we actually compare the two side by side, the difference is night and day. The rule of thirds is simple and fast, sure, but it severely limits the spatial relationships you can build. Dynamic symmetry, on the other hand, it's wonderfully complex, deeply methodical, and profoundly harmonious. It provides a comprehensive map that governs the entire visual universe of the canvas. Let's get practical and see how it's done in Section 3, constructing the master's grid, mapping the canvas. Imagine you're the professional painter stepping up to a blank canvas. You take exact, measured steps to lay down this foundation. Armed with just charcoal and a straight edge, you start precisely at a corner. Then you strike a line directly to the exact halfway point of the opposite side. You systematically repeat this for every single corner to each opposing side, yielding 8 core lines. And they purposely slow down here because if you're 1 millimeter off, the entire painting's harmony just shatters. And here's what happens. When this is fully constructed on a standard 3:2 canvas, this mathematical armature literally looks like the rule of thirds on steroids. By combining those initial halfway lines with major corner-to-corner diagonals, the artist weaves this beautiful, intricate web. It gives them an endless number of dynamic intersections to place their subjects. Now, inside this geometric cage, painters lean heavily on specific, named paths to secretly manipulate the viewer. Take a look at the Baroque diagonal. It sweeps powerfully from the bottom left to the top right. Since Western audiences naturally read left to right, placing subjects along this line pulls the viewer right into the frame with this positive, engaging energy. Conversely, you have the sinister diagonal, sweeping top left to bottom right, which forces a moodier, much more subdued visual descent. But wait, to create the absolute most powerful focal points, painters draw what are called reciprocal lines. These start at the remaining corners and strike those major diagonals at perfect 90-degree angles. These crucial intersections are literally referred to as the eyes. When a master places a subject squarely on one of these 90-degree crosshairs, it commands maximum visual tension and absolute authority over you, the viewer. Now for the really fun part. Section 4, placing the pieces, breathing life into the math. So what exactly gets locked onto these lines? Well, humans are biologically programmed to seek out faces and limbs, right? Classical painters know this, so they deliberately anchor heads, hands, and feet directly onto these geometric intersections. But the illusion goes way deeper than that. Torsos, the folds of draped clothing, leaning trees, and, get this, even the seemingly empty negative space are all meticulously sculpted to align with a grid. Titian absolutely nails this secret in his piece, The Flaying of Marsyas. When you overlay the dynamic symmetry grid on top of it, this chaotic, violent scene suddenly reveals perfect structural logic. It's like a giant puzzle coming together. The angles of the torsos, the direction of the reaching limbs, and the central action flow completely seamlessly along invisible diagonals. The math actually dictates a circular rhythm, physically trapping your eyes within the brutal story of the canvas. And then you have the great El Greco, who uses the exact same underlying geometry, but man, for a totally different emotional effect. He aligns reaching arms, swords, and bodily postures along the sharpest, most vertical diagonals to violently pull our eyes upward toward the heavens. It perfectly demonstrates how this rigid, cold math paradoxically generates the most organic movement and dramatic tension imaginable. Bringing it all together in Section 5, See Like a Master, Beyond the Canvas. So here's the ultimate takeaway for us today. You might not be spending 6 months layering oil paint in a dusty studio. You might be a modern photographer chasing a decisive moment in a fraction of a second. But by taking the time to internalize the slow, deliberate geometry of those classical masters, you permanently elevate your own visual intuition. Studying dynamic symmetry literally rewires your brain to instantly recognize harmony and movement out in the real chaotic world. I want to leave you with this final thought. Now that you know this hidden mathematical matrix is operating silently behind the scenes of history's greatest art, how is it going to change the way you look at every image from now on? I guarantee you, the next time you step into a gallery or lift a camera to your eye, you won't just see the subjects anymore. You're going to see the brilliant, unseen architecture holding our visual world together.